Hey, it's Steve Cochran. Welcome to Live from my office, a brand new episode, and an important one. Well, they're all important. Coming up in 60 seconds. First, a word about my friends at Woody Buick, the place where I buy my cars and my family buys theirs. Woody, why don't you start us off?
Woody here, Woody Buick GMC, Naperville and Gurnee, Chicagoland's largest selection of GMC Sierras, Yukons, and Acadias. Search Woody Buick GMC, Naperville, Gurnee, and see for yourself. Hope to see you soon, Woody. GMC, we're professional grade.
You know, the thing about Woody is 15 seconds is never enough. What else do you want to add?
Woody here, Woody Buick GMC, Naperville and Gurnee, Chicagoland's largest selection of the hot new Buick and Vista and Encore GX. Search Woody Buick GMC, Naperville and Gurnee, and see for yourself. Hope to see you soon, Woody. Buick, exceptional by design.
Woody Buick, number 1. 1,000 cars. He'd love your used car. Your service is going to be impeccable. I don't throw my money around. I hope you don't throw yours around. Save yourself some time and get the car experience you deserve at Woody Buick in Naperville and Gurnee. Thank you, Woody, for supporting us here at Live from my office. Welcome once again. We need to talk about Donald Trump. For those of you who have paid any attention to me over the past 10 years, I'm not a fan. So we know this. We know he needs help. I'm not just talking about between the ears or in the heart. I'm talking about the help he needs to conduct the war that he started. It's a big deal. And he's got a cabinet that it's a disaster. We're going to get into it today with a look at Trump's kooky cabinet. The delusional level of Trump right now is frightening. He's claiming we've already won the war. No, we haven't. He's always had a problem with lying. I wouldn't call it that. I think his problem is with telling the truth. He doesn't have any problem with lying. That's why he's done it so many times. When he was, the idea that gas prices were crazy high and it was going to hurt regular Americans, he said, maybe for a while. No big deal. At this point, gas should be about $30 a gallon by the time you finish this episode. And look, you can just look at history here. Washington didn't win the Revolutionary War without France. Lincoln didn't win the Civil War without Grant and Sherman and a literal team of rivals, as Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote so brilliantly in her book. You know what Trump does with his rivals? He rips them, he lies about them, and he creates even more enemies. Roosevelt didn't win World War II without Eisenhower, without Patton even, and MacArthur, of course. And even though the egos were tremendous and problems would come up later, afterwards for Harry Truman, he had to have the generals. What does Trump do with the generals? He mocks them. He rips them. He claims he knows more than they do. Look, he had a feeling. That's the one consistent thing that keeps being brought up about why he started this war. I've got a feeling that this cabinet isn't great. I would call it queasy. Queasy would be my feeling. And at this point, I'd like to give Donald Trump a Nobel Prize. Not for peace. He gets a Nobel Prize for starting wars. So you got to get into it, and we'll do that when we talk about the cabinet. But first, you can hear this podcast, as you know, wherever you're listening right now, maybe. It could be on Apple. It could be on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You might be picking it up on your dental fillings. But the fact is, I'm glad you're listening. So subscribe, rate, review, and know that I appreciate you being here very much. Well, I've got a new stand-up show coming up. There's a comedy series that goes on now with my friends at the Copley in Aurora. The great Tim Benker is producing it, and Tim is normally hosting the events, but on March 28th, I'll be there to do stand-up and host the show. So if you're interested in tickets, and I hope you will be, go to ParamountAurora.com. Look for the March 28th show. That's the one I'll be at, but, get tickets to any of them. By the way, Dwayne Kennedy and Jimmy McHugh are going to be doing stand-up that night. And it's easy, by the way. You go to ParamountAurora.com and click on the menu. It'll drop down, and you see the thing there that says Copley shows. Copley Comedy Series, I think is what they call it on the website. Just click buy tickets when you get to that 328 show. All right. And, of course, we have a phrase that pays. We have a new phrase that pays, as we usually do. This is from our friends at Apt Electronics, Woody Buick and Apt Electronics, sponsoring Live from my office. And I have these $50 gift cards I'll give away until I run out of them. Thank you, Steve Shapiro. Thank you, of course, all the Apt brothers and the good people there at Apt. Here again, this is a place I spend my money. The computer I'm recording this on is an Apt computer. And I have electronics all over the house. I sleep on an Apt mattress. It goes on and on and on. So the fact is, a $50 gift card for you at Apt. All you have to do is remember the phrase that pays that I'm about to tell you, and then send it to me in an email to thecochranshow@gmail.com. Include your home mailing address. That's how I send you the card, because I don't know where you live. And when you do, add the phrase that pays. That'll show me you listen, and your reward for listening will be this $50 gift card. It's pretty easy to win, I would say. Yeah. Not a tough contest whatsoever. So here's the phrase that pays for this week. Can't we do better than this? Can't we do better than this? Of course we can. And it starts with you voting in the primaries, which, again, if you're a regular Steve Cochran listener, you know that's one of my harangues. If somebody's going to harangue about it, it's going to be me. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Obviously, if you haven't taken a look at that, I hope you will. It's the Live from My Office channel on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening wherever you listen to the podcast. And the same thing applies. Subscribe, rate, and review. Oh, and subscribe to my Substack, where I write a version of this podcast and the primary primer that got a lot of interest on why you should vote in your primary and why it matters so much. All right, let's get into it. First up, it's not breaking news, it's breaking Noem. And by that I mean, and we're going with the same high-level graphics we always do. These may not be exact pictures of the people I'm talking about, but they are, in fact, what I think they look like. All right? So, breaking Noem, Kristi Noem is out. Here's my Kristi Noem image. She is Cruella de Noem, so hide your puppies. You may remember she killed her own dog for misbehavior, and now she may be going home. She's free from the big job that she had. I'm worried. I'm worried about canines, not just in her home state, but all over America. Cruella de Noem. So let's talk about her for a little bit. She was fired for lying. It seems like in the Trump administration, lying would be a bonus, as in a financial bonus. Maybe you'd get another private plane. She already ordered 2 for her Department of Homeland Security, or her former department. But no, she was fired for lying. Kind of ironic that Donald Trump would pull the trigger for that. Also, because the rumor is she's been having a fling with her second in command. This guy is Corey Lewandowski, who dated several people during Trump's first administration. He's married with kids, but don't let that slow your social life down. He's kind of the Dirk Diggler of the Trump years. And supposedly he and Noem have been having a thing. He is her chief of staff. She's violated government employment regulations in how she uses him. And boy, apparently she uses him. And she lied under oath in her testimony to the Congress. She'll probably still have to deal with that. In the meantime, the ICE problem, of course, was her biggest crime, that being that the 2 protesters that were shot and killed by ICE agents were immediately labeled terrorists, domestic terrorists, by her. So, getting rid of her? Yeah, I get it. But the fact that they got rid of her for lying? Give me a frickin' break. Here's something that should be talked about more, and it's not. The Homeland Security folks, the ICE agents, rounding up the worst of the worst. Here's the truth. From their own memos, by the way. 70% of the people they have taken into custody do not have criminal convictions. And even more stunning, 5% have violent criminal convictions. In other words, 95% of the people they picked up are not violent criminals. And yet that's the whole angle they've been playing. The new guy? Mark Wayne Mullen. Most of your bad guys, serial killers, have 3 names. Mark Wayne's technically 1 name. They do it differently in Oklahoma. Mark Wayne Mullen is a senator now, but if confirmed, he'll be the new Homeland Security chief. This is a guy, you may remember, who, in a testimony with a union boss, challenged him to a fistfight. One of these, you man enough to go outside? Step up. He stood up. Bernie Sanders, from the wings, said, "What are we doing? What are we doing? Why would we do this? This is the Senate." and he shut it down. But that's your Mark Wayne Mullen. Bigger problem might be he can't seem to get Iran and Iraq straight. And every time he's been interviewed lately, he's inverted the two. The war is with Iran. Iraq is on our side. They're next door to each other. They both start with IR. Come on, Mark Wayne. Let's use that Oklahoma education a little better than that. And what's next for Kristi Noem? They gave her some cockamamie title for a Western Hemisphere job that they made up, to be sure. But I like something different for her. What if she were to be the first doggy hit woman? I know that she probably couldn't talk about it, but if there's a need for a doggy hit woman based on her past, I think she's the one. I'm just saying. So what matters most is this war that we're in that never had to start. They did not go to the nth degree to figure out if diplomacy would work. They just started taking people out. As I said last time when we did this, the fact that the Ayatollah is dead, the world is a better place because of it. But that doesn't mean we're not in a world of hurt now by getting into this war with Israel. Thousands of Americans have been abandoned in the Middle East. And as of the time we're recording this, they still haven't figured out a way to get them all home. That's great. That's great. No way to get to the airport unless you take a bus. And it doesn't seem like a real safe time with missiles flying all over in the Middle East to be on a bus. And in addition to that, they don't seem to have enough plans or planes to get those folks home. And speaking of plans, how about a plan for the war? Trump always said he hired the best people. Did he? Did he really? No. He hired suck-ups. He hired suck-ups and people that wouldn't challenge him and would support him at every turn, no matter what stupid thing he did. He's not the fearless leader. He's the clueless leader. And if I owe Bullwinkle and Rocky some sort of payment for using clueless leader, hopefully they'll let me know. Bullwinkle does occasionally send me an email or a text. So let's talk about Iran for a second. This is not a pushover. All you've heard Trump say is this is going to be easy. It's going to be easy. Might take 4 weeks, might take 5 weeks, might take 6 weeks. No, it's not easy. And it's not going to be easy. 92 million people. That's a big country. 92 million people live in Iran. It is one of the most educated countries on earth. That means a lot of the population is glad the Ayatollah is dead, but they'd like not to be bombed into oblivion themselves. And how they feel about America and the West could certainly change based on how they're being treated right now. The fact that it's 2.5 times the size of Texas gives you a sense of the physical size. It's 12% larger than Alaska. It's 1/6 the size of all of the United States of America. And how about this? It's 80 times bigger than Israel. That's who you're dealing with Iran. The radical, fundamentalist, Revolutionary Guard, they are the first line of defense in Iran. Trust me when I tell you, they're not laying down weapons for Trump or for anybody else. They will die for their God and for their country. And the commander-in-chief, who is, of course, a convicted felon, and he's got those terrible bone spurs. The convicted felon with chronic draft-dodging bone spurs has one guy to count on as the lead to help him get through this. His team sucks. So let's take a look at him now with a new segment here, again with the high graphics, which I like to call Trump's Kooky Cabinet. That's right. One by one, we'll go through Trump's Kooky Cabinet, starting with Pete Hegseth. Here's a guy, and I don't say this lightly, who is, if you remember Succession, the HBO show, or you think of anybody that's got a troubled member of their family, a brother who's a recovering coke addict or a recovering alcoholic, and he seems to be angry all the time, and all he wants to do is please daddy, there's nobody more like that than Pete Hegseth. He is easy to despise. He jokes about people being killed in this war. He's done it regularly. He apparently approved of and was part of this meme thing that just came up, where we were sending out official government memes about a war where people are dying every single day. His experience? Look, he served in the military, and he should be thanked for his service. But that doesn't mean he's a leader. And that doesn't mean he begins to understand the job that's at hand here. The fact is, his majority of experience was as a third-string talk show host at Fox and a heavy drinker. He seemed to be very good at that. In the meantime, threatening his own people, threatening his own military staff, as he has regularly, including everybody from the rank and file to the generals, that should tell you everything you need to know about him. If you remember the movie Stripes, you know who Pete Hegseth is? Remember Captain Stillman? John Larroquette played him in the movie Stripes. If you remember the movie, this is the guy that ran, Sergeant Hulka reported to him, and he ran the base. And when he wasn't looking at women showering across the camp, he was playing with toy soldiers. Yeah, that's Pete Hegseth. And that should frighten you. It certainly does me. What's his future after this? You know, it's hard to say. I could see him going back to Fox, but maybe this time as a security guard. That's Pete Hegseth. Now, the Attorney General of the United States does have a worldwide thing in her portfolio. It's a worldwide responsibility, would be the right word, for a job. Good thing we have regular, down-to-earth, never flustered Pam Bondi. This is my picture of what I think Pam Bondi must look like when she's relaxing at home. Yeah, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, she has been an absolute train wreck in heels. Anytime she's challenged, she becomes immediately rude, insulting. She is rarely educated. She works strictly off notes, and she is in a bind beyond anything she's capable of handling, to the point where she's likely to face her own criminal challenges going forward. The worst crime, of course, is the fact that she surrendered the Department of Justice to Donald Trump. The DOJ and the Attorney General are supposed to be independent agencies. Nobody's above the law, including Trump. That's the way it's supposed to work. But she literally sat in Congress in a recent embarrassing hearing talking about how everybody should be thanking the greatest president ever, Donald Trump. And whatever he tells her to do, she does, as do so many of the judges that Trump appointed in his first term, which is part of the reason we still have him. The majority of that responsibility, by the way, falls on the likes of Mitch McConnell and those who were in Congress or may still be after the January 6th Trump riots. So the people's lawyer, not so much. Trump's lawyer, that's who she's become. And we don't need a snippy chihuahua as the Attorney General. We need somebody who's actually going to do the job, and it's not Pam Bondi. As far as her future goes, listen, she's an attractive lady. I see her maybe getting her own syndicated TV show, and I'd call it Judge Vile. Judge V-I-L-E, Judge Vile. I think that could be a hit. Next up, from the Trump Kooky Cabinet, it's RFK Jr. Oh, yes, he's been terrific. Yes, he's our own Dr. Evil. RFK Jr.'s ideas are not all bad, but the bad ones are so off the chart bad, they can put the good ones to shame. He's in amazing shape. I'll give him credit for that. He's 70 plus, and he's in just in great shape. You may have seen a recent video of him in a creepy workout with Kid Rock. And it's always in jeans. This is one I don't understand. He even did a cold plunge in his blue jeans. What's the deal with the jeans? Don't like your calves? You seem to like the rest of you just fine. But he's a strange man. And every doctor worth his salt in America will tell you that he is endangering Americans' health every day with things like being a vax denier. You know, regardless of what he told people during his hearings or what he claims to be, that's exactly what he is. Incredibly dangerous. He makes statements like Wi-Fi can cause brain cancer. Maybe not as dangerous as the vax denying thing, just scary stupid. And his statistics, whenever he cites statistics, his math is so wrong, it's unbelievable. You might remember when Trump said, hey, dropped pharmaceutical prices, prescription prices by 100%, 500%, 1,000%, 1,500%. Mathematically impossible. Well, RFK Jr.'s numbers are insane as well. He said 66% of Americans have chronic disease. Like, we got a lot of fat and out of shape in this country, but 2/3, including women, children, babies? No. Even more shockingly, according to RFK Jr., 50% of Chinese, the largest nation, or maybe it's India now, it's either first or second, but it's a couple of billion people. 50% of Chinese are diabetic. I'll hold for your applause. It's just insane. And these are the things that are falling out of his mouth. He's most known for a couple of things. One is propping up a dead bear in Central Park that he apparently hit with his car and didn't have time to make dinner out of because he was going to another event, and propped him up on a park bench. He also made statements like doing coke off toilet seats and the various problems he had in the past. We get past this. His future, I don't need the competition, but I think I could see him doing a podcast, possibly a podcast with his brainworm. Oh, you don't know about the RFK Jr. brainworm? That's an easy Google. Take a look. Look it up. Next up with Trump's cabinet, Scott Bessent. Now, this is a guy who showed some promise in the beginning. Very successful Wall Street dude, very wealthy, and in the beginning, he seemed like a reasonable guy. He has turned into an embarrassment as well, doing Trump's bidding at every turn. And part of the reason it's so amazing that these fools stay in these jobs is because they're not elected. They don't have to worry about their next election and whether Trump will primary them. They were appointed and approved by a Senate that needs a checkup completely, and most of them need to be thrown out, as I've said before. But Bessent is condescending. He's rude. He doesn't care about regular Americans. When the Supreme Court did their tariff ruling recently, all the money that needs to go back to folks, Bessent said, it's probably gone. What are you going to do? Thousands of small and medium-sized businesses penalized the worst through all of it, and Scott Bessent, your Treasury Secretary, doesn't care. I think of all the people on Trump's cabinet, he now has the most punchable face. It's just an opinion. Maybe you think differently. But I think he is kind of the Trump Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. Close your eyes for a second. Can you see it? Yeah? I know I can. Next up may be my favorite, because he is such a buffoon. He is the Commerce Secretary. He is a guy in charge of American commerce. The money in, the money out, and how the economy is going to do, a lot of that falls on a guy that you may know named Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick, to me, makes used car salesmen look bad. He's bad for them. They should sue for him to stop using his own face because he looks like one of them. I mean the worst kind. All used car salesmen are not bad people, of course. But this is a very fair representation of Howard Lutnick. Why is it just lunch? Because if you're not familiar, you may know that he is all over the pedophiles of Epstein and Trump. And he said, without any hesitation, that he was absolutely done with Epstein the moment he realized who he was and the crimes he had committed. Complete lie. In the Epstein files, it shows, among other things, that he had quite a lunch with Epstein. But he said it was fine. You ready for this excuse? He said it was fine because at that lunch, he brought his wife and his kids and their nannies. Because who wouldn't bring the family to the fabulous family fun of Epstein Island? What a dick. That's Howard Lutnick. And as far as his future goes, I could see him caddying for Trump at Trump National in Jersey. I'd probably be winded after a couple of holes, but that seems to be the right way to go. Next up is the Director of National Intelligence, obviously with a portfolio that would include being in meetings on a war that Trump started. I speak of Tulsi Gabbard, the one-time Democrat, then Republican, who loves Vladimir Putin. She was seen skulking around Georgia, where she should not have been, when the FBI went in to seize voting ballots from the 2020 election on another goose chase sent there by Donald Trump and his obsession to try to prove that the election of 2020 was stolen. Again, we went over this a million times. I'm going to say it again. You can't steal a federal election. You cannot. You cannot do it. The reason is every state runs their own elections. That's why we have state primaries that you have to vote in. And in every state, there are Democrats and Republicans. If an election conspiracy were big enough to be stolen, there would literally be thousands of people who would have to keep that secret. Do you know anyone in 2026 that really keeps a secret, let alone thousands of people with different political views? It's complete jackassery. And Tulsi Gabbard, what is she hiding? One of the big problems she has now is she suppressed a whistleblower memo about foreign nationals being in contact with Jared Kushner. And this is not the Middle Eastern deal where he goes in and he negotiates. This is something that seems much more slimy. You remember Kushner got a couple of $billion from the Saudis after Trump left the White House the first time. What's he up to now? Well, we don't know because Tulsi Gabbard hid it. She an attractive lady as well, but I couldn't find a real picture of her. But based on her contact, this seems to fit. Tulsi. Moving on. I probably should take some time to do a real rundown of this guy, but I don't think anybody has done less for America and more for Trump than Mike Johnson. The Speaker of the House is a complete bitch for the President of the United States. I know that's a technical term, but that's exactly what Mike Johnson is. Here's a picture of Trump and Mike Johnson together that I think sums it up. It's Trump's little buddy. Yeah, there you go. Mike Johnson has been a complete disaster. It's pathetic. The list is far too long to go through of all of the crimes he has committed, and by way of standing by Trump and not standing up to Trump. He never, ever does the right thing, and I doubt he ever thinks of it. In the meantime, I see his future really clearly. I mentioned golf before. I think in the future he could be Trump's personal ball washer. Go from course to course, and wherever Trump is, he is, because that's where he loves to be. The vice president, yeah, he's a real peach as well. Another one of Trump's errand boys. J.D. Vance never met a position he couldn't rotate to if it's Donald Trump's position, including dropping his own sermon, how he got elected to the Senate, and what he truly believes, that America should not be entangled in foreign wars. Really? It's not what he's saying anymore. He might not call it a war, but he's all in with whatever Big Orange has to say. Yep, Orange Julius Caesar has J.D. Vance right where he wants him. And not only is he a complete empty suit, he is also someone who gets no support from Trump. And when 2028 comes around, he'll just be saying, yes, sir, may I have another? Because there's no way in the current view of things that Trump would endorse him or that Trump would support his campaign. He would throw him out, much like he did Mike Pence. But, maybe he doesn't hang him. You may remember there was a threat to hang Pence that Trump ignored. Future plans for J.D. Vance, I could see him opening his own furniture store, maybe a combination love seat couch place. He seems to love those. If you don't know why I would reference couches and J.D. Vance, yeah, Google that. Stephen Miller is not in the cabinet, but nor is J.D. Vance or Mike Johnson, but they all get honorable mention. And even though we're going through Trump's cabinet, the honorable mention folks deserve to be out there as well. Stephen Miller is frightening. This is unfair to Uncle Fester, but it's a very similar look to Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has more hatred and vitriol in everything he says and does than just about anybody. You could sum him up by saying he's a racist, he's loud, he's angry, he's narrow-minded. Those would be the better traits. But Stephen Miller is the Project 2025 liaison. The Project 2025 stuff is the real core of any Trump policy. Don't kid yourself, like so many talking heads on the news channels who say Trump's strategy is this. Trump doesn't have strategy. Trump gets up in the morning and decides what's best for Trump. What he does is the last person in the room tells him what he thinks. That's how this works, boys and girls. I'm not making it up. You follow the trail of history and know that the people I speak to in D.C. all the time have stories that back that up as well. There is no policy other than the policy that is told to Donald Trump. However, because Donald Trump now believes he's invincible, and and by the way, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he believe he's invincible? To slip through not going to jail and to have all of these folks back him, no matter how terrible he is to them or their party. Why would he not believe that he is in some way chosen by Satan or otherwise? Of course he would. So the danger is, even though Project 2025 does the heavy lifting, Donald Trump still makes the crazy decisions. And whether he goes to war with Iran to distract from the Epstein files, which are awful, you may have seen the most recent dump includes the testimony of a 13 or 14-year-old girl who claims Trump raped her. It's in there. Donald Trump will do spontaneous things to set the world on fire as he has now. And as he approaches 80 and is not in good health, you should be concerned, I certainly am, about what he would do for the rest of us or his family? Would he do the right thing? Or would he try to take us all down with him? This is not a hyperbole from a bad movie. This is what I'm concerned about with Donald Trump. Would a desperate man like Trump do something incredibly damaging, not just to America, but to the world? Look, he already has with the start of this war and the damage he did in the White House before then. Stay tuned, boys and girls. This, again, is why you need to vote in the primaries to make sure that he doesn't have that kind of power to the end. I never mentioned, I do have a future plan for Stephen Miller as well. What do you think? Intern for Satan? I don't know if there are any internships open, but, you could certainly give it a shot. As far as the honorable mentions go, I have to include the FBI director. That would be Kash Patel. Most recently, most famous for doing two things: diverting the FBI SWAT teams to protect his country-singing girlfriend when she goes to gigs. He also crashed the gold medal hockey team's party in the locker room after they won in Italy, was chugging beers, dropping F-bombs, and ignoring his job, which, by the way, we're told he does regularly. FBI insiders say he almost is never in the office that he holds as director of the FBI. As far as the idea that he would use government travel on a personal level to go to his girlfriend's gigs, he literally said, "I don't do it a lot. It's only 15 or 16% of the time." Oh, well, then I guess it's okay. Private plane abuse, not doing his job. Kash Patel is a disaster as well. And yes, the FBI has a role to play in foreign affairs as well. Kash Patel can stay in this business, by the way. When he's out, I don't like him as a mall cop. I could see him as a mall cop, and probably one of these malls that is already closed. Might be a good place to put him. And then there's the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, a woman who I don't believe she's even 30 yet. Now, she is very smart. She's good at her job. Unfortunately, her job is protecting the horrible things that Donald Trump says and does. She's the hype woman for Donald Trump, the lying hype woman. I have to believe, as smart as I believe she is, she knows she's lying. So the terrible thing is she doesn't seem to care. I don't know what the long term, I really don't know what's in it for her. I could see her, though, as an attractive blonde getting a job at Fox the minute she's out of D.C. That wouldn't be a surprise. But one of her standard moves is a standard move by so many of the Trump White House, including Trump, of course. And that is if they're challenged by great reporters or mediocre reporters, it's always, well, what do you know? Your ratings suck. Because you're dealing with a bunch of 12-year-olds. A lot of you don't know the labor secretary. Why would you? But her name is Lori Chavez DeRemer. I know it's getting redundant now, but this is our last stop on the campaign, or the Trump cabinet, I should say. But Lori Chavez DeRemer has got a husband who has been banned from her offices because of sexual harassment complaints by some of her colleagues and employees. She is also said to be having a bang fest with one of her security staff. That's a rumor that's been out there for a long time. She's a big drinker at work, apparently, and has booze at the ready all the time. These are all rumors, but they are backed up by lots of sources and lots of leaks from her department. So travel abuse, drinking on the job, and banging one of her security staff folks, and her husband. Really charming, quite a resume. That's Lori Chavez DeRemer. By the way, she's probably the next one to be fired if the Democrats in Congress push it. And finally, there's the accessories to the crime, and that's everybody at Fox News. Yes, Fox News. You take your Hannitys, your Ingrams, your Jesse Waters, all of them that are on. The only guy I'd give a break is Brett Baer. I think Brett Baer legitimately tries to do news. But the rest of them, forget about it. Fox News is part and parcel to the horrible shape the bad side of this country is in. Most Republicans are not bad people. But if you only watch Fox News, you'll be polluted by it. It's like Democrats if they leave MS Now on all day. MS Now is the new name for MSNBC. You've got to get different points of view. The job at Fox News, make America worse, get paid big money. That's what they've done for years. The lies about COVID were awful, made everything worse. The lies about the 2020 election being rigged cost him almost $1 billion in fines. Hasn't changed anything. Hannity and company lying more than ever. The lies about Trump's felonies that possibly helped keep him out of jail. That's another reason. And of course, the lies about Trump's riots, the January 6th Trump riots that should have ended him completely, if not for people like Mitch McConnell. That's the cabinet, and that is your honorable mention. So, look, if we were to sum all this up, I would just tell you this. You can't keep going on like this. You can't. Obviously, the only way to remove Donald Trump from office would be the 25th Amendment, which would involve the cabinet growing a pair. That's not going to happen. It would also involve an impeachment if the Democrats win the House and the Senate back. They could push an impeachment out of the House, but they really need the Senate as well. The Democrats are in a good position to win the House. The Senate is very, very different. The map, frankly, isn't favorable at all. So this is the thing that, I always come back to. You got to vote in the primaries. The primaries are the playoffs. The general election is the Super Bowl. And as far as who to vote for, I'll put it in the show notes again. But you could watch my primary primer on YouTube, and I hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, it's the Live from My Office channel. Or you could listen to the podcast, wherever you're listening now, maybe. You could also read my Substack, stevecochran.substack.com, where I lay it out in detail. But we'll put it in the show notes, again, where you need to go to research your candidates and decide. And by the way, if you're a Republican, good for you. I hope you're a true Republican and a true conservative. But if you're a Republican and you want to know, well, how am I supposed to know who to vote for? I don't want to vote for Democrats. How am I supposed to know? How about you decide who not to vote for? Because the primaries are party specific in almost all cases. And how do you do that? If you go to the various sites I've laid out, and again, they'll be in the show notes, you can tell, for instance, at Ballot Ready, how the candidates have voted. The candidates that are incumbents and the candidates that want the job. And if you've got somebody that's voted 80 or 90% or more with Donald Trump, it's time for them to go. And if you're telling me that 80 or 90% of the time Trump's been right, and you've listened or watched for this long, I have to believe you've fallen and you can't get up. So here's the thing. Let's sum it up. Trump starts a war. Trump has no plan. People die. Billions of dollars are wasted. 35% of America is supporting him. He has no team to back him up. Blame Biden and the Democrats is the regular push, even though he's been in office again for 15 months. And the Democrats couldn't be weaker with leadership like Chuck Schumer in the Senate. And frankly, Hakeem Jeffries needs to step it up a lot because he's not getting it done in the House either. But Chuck Schumer, he'll write you a stern letter. That ought to fix it. So the deal is, I guess this is the best way to sum it up. I'm out of pictures, but be afraid. Be afraid enough to vote in your primaries. Check out the show notes. Listen and watch. And just trust that I'm only bitching about this for the right reasons. I'm Steve Cochran, and that's your Live from My Office. I appreciate you listening. And maybe if we got lucky, old Bone Spurs could use the Bone Spurs to dodge the rest of his presidency. I don't know if we could convince him, but it's worth a shot. Let me get Woody Buick back in here. Woody, tell us more about why everybody should be like me and buy their next car from Woody Buick.
Woody here. Why Woody, you ask? Chicagoland's top-selling Buick GMC dealer with the largest Buick GMC inventory in stock. Over 1,000 of the hot new Buick and GMCs to choose from. Search Woody Buick GMC, Naperville and Gurnee, and see for yourself. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Click, shop, and drive home today. No shortage at Woody Buick GMC, Naperville and Gurnee. Woody needs your trade-in today. Hurry for best selection at year-end. Hope to see you soon, Woody. GMC, we are professional grade.
So whether you're buying a car for yourself, for your kids, for your partner in life, for your parents, for anybody, do yourself a favor before you make the final decision. Check out Woody. And if you're going, Buick, Steve, Buick? You haven't seen the new Buicks if that's what you think. It's not just that old ad slogan. It's not your father's Buick or your mother's Buick. It's a brand new Buick. Great SUVs. Like the Enclave that I drive. Sweet, sweet, sweet SUV. That's my latest, by the way. Let me know if you want to borrow it. In the meantime, I'm really glad you listened to Live from My Office. I thank Woody, and I thank the good people at Apt Electronics. Don't forget the phrase that pays. The phrase that pays this time, you send it in an email to thecochranshow@gmail.com with your home mailing address, and I, as long as supplies last, will send you a $50 Apt gift card from the good people at Apt. And again, thanks to my buddy there, Steve Shapiro as well. Ross Cochran produces live from my office. Thank you, Ross. As usual, an exceptional job. We wouldn't be on without Ross. And I thank you for listening and for watching and for reading at stevecochran.substack.com. Now go out there and save the country. Not for me, not for you, for your kids, for your grandkids. We got to do the right thing, kids. I trust that you will. Vote. Thanks for listening. See you next time on Live from My Office.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.